Welcome everyone back to the Myth and Death playthrough. In this video I'm covering the mission The Flight from Covenant. We retrieved the Total Codex from Covenant in the last mission, Homecoming. Now we need to escape. The Flight from Covenant occurs on Monday, September 15th, which is the same day as Homecoming. Here is the journal.
Monday, September 15th, Shepherd's Gate, Covenant. The Watcher has entered Covenant from the north, and his tireless undead are raping the old city a second time, tearing down what few structures stand in their way, and choking the sky with dust and smoke. That he wants the book which now rests at the bottom of my pack is clear. Against my better judgment, I opened the Codex last night to a random page, and read about the life of a man not yet born, who would resurrect the Macridia and visit horrors on the world without equal in history or myth. I believed every word. I have resolved to destroy the thing before allowing it to become an instrument of the dark. Moriak is on his feet now, talking to the men. We met him and a few other survivors of the first expedition hiding in a collapsed cellar a few hundred feet away from the outer wall, and joined them for a brief rest until dawn. Moriak was Prince Regent here during King Ulrich's adolescence, and knows of an underground tunnel just outside the city which leads to Shoal, a village 4 miles away down the coast. The king's family used it to escape Covenant when Soulblighter leveled the city 12 years ago, and today we hope it will help us elude the Watcher.
The Watcher has brought his undead horde to Covenant and is ripping what's left to the ground, searching for the Total Codex. The undead that we fought in Homecoming likely came with him. It seems that the Legion barely got the Total Codex in time. Getting out of Covenant will be a tall task. As I discussed before, the Macridia were ushered into the world in the past by the leveler Mogim. The narrator learns from the Total Codex that it is fate that a man will bring the Macridia back into the world. The Macridia were trapped in the Tane by Connacht at the end of the Wind Age, bringing about the Wolf Age. The narrator is determined to keep this from happening. Can you change the future by reading the Total Codex? It is a good thing that the Legion found Moriak in a collapsed cellar, because he knows of a secret underground tunnel we will be taking to escape the Dark, who have overwhelmed Covenant. It says that Moriak was the Prince Regent when Ulrich was in adolescence, so that tells us he is likely not a young warrior anymore. There is an image that was on the disc but not included in the game that shows the Legion finding Moriak in the cellar. The journal tells us that Moriak is one of the few survivors who was part of the first expedition to retrieve the Total Codex. The king who escaped from the south would have been Ulrich. The Fallen Lord's manual says he was formerly king of the southern provinces, and obviously he isn't king there anymore because it has fallen to the dark. I realize now that I made a mistake in my first video on the date that Covenant fell. In the Fallen Lord's manual it says that Covenant fell 15 years ago, but in this journal it says that Covenant fell 12 years ago. The Fallen Lord's manual seems to be rounding these dates, so I would say that the journal entry is the accurate one, and it is not really a conflict. Back on the subject of Moriak, there is a comic about him in the Tales from Myth. One thing I noticed is that at the bottom of the second page in the comic, it says that this comic is Volume 1, Number 1, meaning that perhaps Bungie may have considered making more comics at the time. Bring back the Tales from Myth, Bungie! Anyways, let's jump into this comic. Fang Grinder, Juan Ramirez. As the wicked Fallen Lords spread their malignant shadow, their terrible servants pushed relentlessly westward, halted only by the fighting spirit of valiant men. Even the most courageous defenders might find their boldness lacking when confronted by such a hideous enemy. And of all their fiends, foul and profane, who served the dark, none were more feared and hated than Fang Grinder. In the early days of the Great War, Tales from Myth, the Fallen Lords. As the wicked Fallen Lords cast their malignant shadow onto the realms of free men, terror reigned in the land. The armies of darkness pushed relentlessly westward, halted only by the valiant fighting spirit of brave men. But even the most courageous of defenders might find their boldness lacking when confronted by such a hideous enemy. And of all the foul and profane fiends who served the dark, few were feared and hated more than Fang-Grinder. Dreaded Fang-Grinder, whose very name struck fear in even those that rallied round him in battle, called the King of Ghouls, the Black Dog of the Hilllands. He was the greatest and most terrible of his kind. Vicious Fang-Grinder, whose fury proved the doom of countless heroes, and upon whose head was sworn many a solemn oath for revenge. But no matter how many blades were pledged towards his ruin, he remained a scourge to men everywhere. Until at last tales spread through fearful villages and rumors were whispered round lonely campfires that Fang-Grinder could not be slain by mortal men at all. There were those that said he was a creature born and blessed of the blackest sorcery, nursed of the blood of innocents defiled. Others claimed he was but a phantom beast, the ghostly avenger of all ghouls slain in battle, who, with but a glance, could freeze a man's soul. It was at the moonlit autumn night at the Battle of Grimace Point that Moriok of Madrigal saw his fellows perish, fallen by Fang-Grinder. His warrior vows forgotten, he fled in terror. Such was his guilt and shame. Ha ha, run, run! No one truly knows why Fang-Grinder spared Moriok that night. Most of Western lore agrees that it was out of weariness from a long day's slaughter. Some chronicles, however, speak of a spark of mercy may briefly flicker in even the blackest of hearts. Let that one go. Soon Fang-Grinder and his underlings were on the move again, marauding as they went, perhaps summoned by one of their fallen lord masters. As for Moriok, lost and alone, he wandered the hill country for a time, an aimless rogue warrior, unable to come to terms with his disgraced honor. He blamed himself for the death of his comrades, though there was little he might have done to aid them, inexperienced and outnumbered as he had been. It is in the nature of the ghouls to be savage and brutish, although they are not thought to be inherently evil in and of themselves. Their allegiance to the fallen due to ignorance and sorcerer's deception. Fang-Grinder ruled as do all tyrants, through fear and brutality. It was well known that he feasted upon his victims, but few would scarcely accuse that he was so depraved as to devour his own kind. But his depravity knew no bounds. In the end, even his own cohorts abandoned him in miserable terror, for they now knew that truly none were safe from Fang-Grinder's insatiable lust for blood. As they fled, he cursed their feeble hearts. Reveling in his own awesome hideousness, he gorged himself on the grisly repast, and from that day on, he roamed in solitude, his monstrous atrocities unabated, his awful legend growing greater still. And now we come to the tale of how Fang-Grinder, infamous king of the ghouls, met with his own grim demise, as told in the Total Codex itself. In those days, as the wars raged ever westward, old rivalries were forgotten and new alliances forged, and so it came to be that the Furbolg, reckoned for their archery skills, came to stand with the newly formed legion against the fallen lords. It was under gloomy skies that a troop of Furbolg marched westward on a mission through unknown lands. A small band moved ahead of the main force, unaware that they were being watched by unfriendly eyes. Fang-Grinder made short, bloody work of the 4 archery scouts. But their comrades were not far behind, and their retribution was sure and swift as their aim allowed. At first, he faced them, but their numbers proved too great. Under a torrent of arrows, he took flight. Far into the night they pursued him, piercing him grievously on all sides. Finally, in a slimy bog did he elude them, but their wrath had taken its toll, for he knew that, lest he soon reach his fallen lord masters, his fate was sealed. From far away he heard their call. Their dark sorcery beckoned with promises of rejuvenation. In a trance-like stupor, he struggled through the swampy mire. Many times before had he been wounded into the brink of death, but he had been restored, his power and malice exalted. But this time such was not to be, for between him and his masters now stood Moriok of Madrigal, and at long last the evil forces that had so vehemently smiled upon dread Fanggrinder now turned away. Fierce to the last, he fought viciously and very nearly prevailed, but his doom was at hand. It was a mixture of his weakness from his many arrow wounds and the courage of Moriok that thwarted him. Such was Fanggrinder's bane. Thus did Moriok of Madrigal regain his lost honor, and for this deed his fame spread far and wide. As for Fanggrinder, his skull and bones were much sought after by those that study and practice the black arts, for it was said that they held certain sorcerous properties. And even after, whenever Gull was especially strong or fierce or clever, he was called Fanggrinder. Most of the stuff in this comic is pretty straightforward, so I won't go into too much detail. I personally think this comic is well done. It does a good job of capturing the fear of Moriok and how fitting it is that he gains his honor by defeating Fanggrinder when he is basically already dead. I also like the detailed descriptions of how savage Fanggrinder is, that he started to even eat his own kind. Note that when Fanggrinder is talking in the comic, there is an asterisk saying that it is in the bestial language of the ghouls. I wonder if the ghouls can understand or speak the language of the humans. It seems like a strong possibility that they can understand him from one of the images in the mission, The Traitor's Grave. In this mission, we will get Moriok of Madrigal and defeated Fanggrinder himself. He is a hero warrior unit in the mission. It seems he has toughened up after defeating Fanggrinder and is now stronger than your typical warrior. We will see a new enemy unit in this mission called a Myrmidon. They are a race of warriors who betrayed the light because Balor promised them immortality. After 300 years, they are decaying bodies held together only by rotting bandages. Their unit description in Myth the Fallen Lord says this: Desirous of power and immortality, the warrior race of the Myrmidons left their northern kin to join Balor and the Fallen Lords, and so they became known as the Kithless. They wield dual blades called Predoxma, which are composed of a human femur for a handle and a scythe with a steel blade at each end of the handle. Despite the state of their decaying bodies, they are quick units and can cut through things quickly. Their main weakness is they fall apart fairly quick. The Myth the Fallen Lord's unit description also says this: While still flesh and blood, the Myrmidons were most vain about their long hair and body paint, spending the eve of a battle before a mirror rather than in a bedroll. This tells us about their past. If you think about it, which other unit has long hair and body paint? A Berserk, of course. We haven't seen a Berserk yet in this playthrough, but the Myth the Fallen Lord's manual tells us that they are also from the north. This means that the Myrmidons are likely kin to the Berserks. Myth 3 The Wolf Age expands on the Myrmidon lore and tells us that they are specifically from the 12 Duns and were nearly defeated by Moagim the Leveler. They discovered a shrine long ago to an ancient god that contained scrolls within. These scrolls taught them ancient techniques and fighting styles. They became swift and deadly opponents who could hold even the Mercridia at bay thanks to these scrolls. This makes sense because it gives the Myrmidons reason for being able to effectively use 2 Predoxma blades, and it also explains why they would be hungry for immortality from Balor. It seems like in these stories that as soon as someone starts to get some power, they become hungry for more power overnight. One of the heroes in Myth 3 The Wolf Age is Ravana, whom we will cover later, but she was from the 12 Duns, who the Myth 3 The Wolf Age calls Myrmidons, and her unit description says this: Centuries ago, the Mercridian horde had turned the once proud people of the 12 Duns into nomads. Legends say that a temple was discovered from their long-forgotten history, a temple to a god of war. Those that learned from that sacred place became fearless of death and swift as vipers. these warriors could take on even the Mercridia. They we named Myrmidons. The Myrmidons of the Duns cherished their dual blades, called Gridachsma. Crafted from the finest metals, they shine like polished silver and are light as glass. When forged, each Gridachsma is cooled in a basin of fresh blood, and when finally tempered, are blessed with prayers to the god of war. Now personally, I think Myth 3 The Wolf Age made a mistake from a lore perspective with calling them Myrmidons instead of Berserks. I think Bungie intended they were called Berserks until after they were granted immortality by Valor and became mummified, hence their name. The definition of Myrmidon is this: a follower or subordinate of a powerful person, typically one who is unscrupulous or carries out orders unquestioningly. From this, it really doesn't make sense for them to be called Myrmidons beforehand, now does it? This could also mean that they shouldn't have Gridachsma blades at the time, but would have developed their weapons later, since the Berserks used claymores in the game. Despite this, I like the additional information that MumboJumbo provided us concerning these units and gives us some more to think about and discuss. Now it's time to jump into the mission and teach these Myrmidons who is boss. Escort your journeyman who is carrying the Codex through the ruined city wall and to the hidden tunnel far outside of the old city. Right, so we gotta move our forces as soon as the mission starts. Because what the game's gonna try to do, they're gonna try to trap us, kind of against the starting area. So there's gonna be thrall coming from like every direction from the start. So what I did to get by this, like here's the wall of Covenant. They're gonna come in through different openings in the wall. So what I like to do is I like to move all my forces to the left. That way, if they're trying to circle me and I come to the left, I can fight each group one at a time. Whereas if I stay here, I'm gonna have to be fighting on like several fronts at once. So this is what I've been doing and it works. It's not necessarily the best way. Maybe going to the right would be easier, I don't know. But I tried going to the left and it seemed to work very well, so.
Okay.
Yes.
So here's a way. You gotta watch out for this way, but just don't put your warriors too far ahead and you'll be fine. So here's the thrall coming out, so we want to get in position to start hitting these guys. We want to take out this first group of thrall before. We want to take out this group before this one over here, so that way we can kind of move that way if we need to, which I'm sure we will. Trying to soften them up so that my archers can finish them. Okay, now we got that group taken care of, so I'm going to move more this way so that my archers aren't getting flanked. Oh, they're looking the wrong way. And just keep an eye on this white. He shouldn't be a big issue, but as soon as you stop looking at them is when they'll get you. Oops, I didn't mean to tell my archers to move. And then the good thing about this is we have room now to keep moving back if we need to.
Yes, incoming. Move here, move there.
Like we do right now.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
The biggest danger is your dwarves, like getting a satchel bouncing back at them, destroying your own dwarves.
Got him. Move there.
We'll see if that happens.
Burn. Oh yeah. Burn.
Like there, like right there. I'm lucky that didn't come at my doors.
Oh yeah. Yes. Got him. Money.
Okay, even though it's gone well, I'm gonna save it because I'm afraid of a grenade coming back and blowing up my doors.
Move there. Yes. Mic up your mind. Okay. Mic up your mind. Yes, sir. Yeah. Burn.
There's a lot of thralls, so you can imagine if all these thrall around you, like at the beginning of the mission.
Casualty.
As I said, you can imagine if all these thrall are around you at the beginning of the mission, it
Okay.
makes it extremely difficult to maneuver because you don't have anywhere to run.
Mic up your mind. Got him. Mic up your mind. Yes, sir. Mic up your mind. Money. Okay. That was mine. Move
You gotta be
there.
careful with this little slope. These grenades like to bounce back.
Money.
The one thing I don't like about this corner is like I can't move my camera very well.
Yes,
Keeps getting stuck on the edge of the map, which is a little one thing kind of annoying about the game.
yes, sir. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Burn.
Maybe they can fix that in a patch or something, I don't know. Okay, this group is almost dead.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Okay, alright. That's it with them. Okay. I'm gonna cheese these whites real quick so I don't have to worry about them.
Sir?
So, if you want to kill whites, you can just look away. And eventually they'll start coming toward you. And then you can easily kill them. And I fast forward it so it doesn't take forever.
That was mine. Yes. Peace.
There we go. Alright. That way I don't gotta wait forever. Okay. So let's just send out a warrior to so I can kind of show you
Yes.
the starting area. So this is probably the... I don't know if I'd say the best way. An easy way to go. If you go, like where's the main road? Okay.
Yes, sir.
So you come here, you see these myrmidons, they retreat. You're like, oh, okay.
Yes.
Then you come up here and you'll see... let's see where it is. Up here-ish. Okay, so we start to see this big army. So there's a bunch of thrall and myrmidons in here, and if we come up close, they'll all rush us. And there's probably like, I didn't count them all. I'm gonna guess there's like 40 myrmidons or 50, something like that out here. And they're fast. And so if we want no casualties, it's gonna be really hard to take this. So normally what they try to do is you say, well, you go to the north. That's the way you're supposed to go. And I'll go that way also just to show it to you. But what I want to do is I'm going to destroy this army. Because there's an easy way to destroy this army. So let's get over here. If we come to this opening right here,
Move there.
we can easily destroy the army. So there is... If you notice, this opening is kind of smaller. So we can kind of get them all, funneled in there.
Yes.
There's also this one over here. And I tried doing this one. The thing I realized, though, is that there's all these trees and stuff. It's like if you go, directly straight out, if you run into these trees. So the myrmidons are faster than the warrior. So when you're trying to run back, it's really hard to save this warrior when you're running.
On my
But if you come to this one, you don't got to worry about that. Because you got, a straight path to them. So that you can go get them and come straight back. And your warrior, won't have a bunch of obstructions. The running distance back is a lot less.
Yes. Yes, sir.
So we're going to put some up there. And we'll put some here just in case we need them.
Yes. Yes, sir.
So
We're moving.
the one thing,
Got it. Yes, sir.
but I'm right here.
Yes, sir.
So the one thing is there's this opening here. So I don't want to put my, so you see I'm trying to position all my force, you know, on the
Yes, sir.
right side, you know, so that way when the Myrmidons are trying to chase my troops, because like if I have some troops over here, they might not, once they get to a certain point, they might not all chase that one right here put out. They might start chasing these units over here. And I don't want them coming around this way. I want them all coming through this tunnel. So you see I position my guys on the side. So it's, so let's just save it right here real quick. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a bunch of satchels in here.
Okay. Move here, move there. What?
What I like to do is I like to kind of like put make them kind of jagged.
Yeah.
Oops, I don't know what I pushed. I must have pushed. Oh, I pushed R instead of T. Okay, that would be retreat.
What now?
That way I get kind of like the maximum radius and kind of blow them up all along a long path too. That way anything in there should, you know, die.
Yes, sir.
And I think they should all explode. Sometimes you know, you think you got them close enough and then you don't.
Yes.
I'm positioning these guys a little bit farther away.
Make up your mind.
Yes, sir.
Yes?
Alright. That should be good. Alright, let's go send this
Your orders
warrior
on
out.
my way. Yes. On my way.
Come on, pathfinding. Alright, let's go get him.
Got it. Got it.
Okay, there's some good dialogue here. Okay, so we'll see the huge army here in a
On my
minute.
way.
I think these little things on here are supposed to be... I'm thinking they're supposed to be skulls. I didn't check in loathing to see what these are. You know, you can check in loathing to see exactly what they are. I think they're skulls or something. This is like a... I don't know. You know, see some explosions and stuff. Look like there was... You know, maybe when they attacked Covenant, some whites exploded and blew up holes in the wall. And I guess these maybe are skulls or something. I don't know.
Yes. Got it.
I
Yes,
don't
sir.
like the looks of this.
So he says, I don't like the looks of this. So he's warning you, there's a huge army here, you know. There's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 in here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's 40 of them, ish. You know, there's a couple more over here, but they won't chase me. And then there's a bunch of Thrall too. So we're gonna, once we get to a certain spot, he'll say something else.
Yes.
Damn, we should have gone around them.
So as soon as he says that, that's your cue to run. Because they're all going to start chasing as soon as he says that. And we'll see if we can save them. I'll try again if I mess up. It's a little tricky. Because sometimes sometimes they stop like they're trying to let you run away. But I'm not sure.
On my way.
Yeah. Okay.
Hold your...
Burn!
Yes, sir.
I
Yes,
don't want
sir.
them to
Got it.
chase into there.
Got him! Move here, move
And that's it. That's all of them. I blew up almost all of them with the satchels.
there.
Really? You shot him right there? Come on. Come on for a bog. Okay, so that's it for the Myrmidons. That actually went very well. So now these Thrall, they don't really stand a chance. And I got them all cornered in
Make
here.
up your mind.
We'll just keep blowing them up.
Okay. Money.
Seems like there's explosions going everywhere, so I just decided to pull my
Got him.
doors back a little bit.
Money. That was mine.
Oh, that makes me nervous.
Got him. Yes. Okay. Yes. Mic up. Money. That was mine.
Random explosions
Money.
flying everywhere with my doors makes me nervous.
Okay. Got him. Yeah, sir.
Like,
Your orders, sir. Yes, sir.
Money. Sorry about that.
sorry about that. Sorry.
Move there. Move there. That was mine. Yes.
Alright, archers, finish him off.
Got him.
Okay, that's it for that. That went well.
Move there.
We barely got touched. Barely.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
so you could go this way straight ahead. The cave to exit is somewhere over here on the map. And you'll meet some thrall and some whites and a couple myrmidons. Not very many. That's basically all the myrmidons on this level.
Mic
But
up your mind.
I'm gonna show you
We're moving.
probably the way most people will go about this mission, which is going through. If you were going to go around them, that's going to be up here. So basically you got all this water here, so your doors are almost worthless.
Yes.
We'll
Yes.
just keep all the, well, we'll keep them separate, I
We're
suppose.
moving.
Okay.
And then we'll start seeing lots of whites and stuff, so kind of just have to use our archers in the front to protect
Yes,
our
sir.
our units.
Mic up your mind.
We're moving.
You can see the journeyman has the total codex still.
Yes.
Just keep the whites at bay.
We're moving. Got it.
Really, the only hard part about this mission is that very beginning part with all the thrall coming near you. You know, even though the thrall, just because. Come on, Furbog. You're better than that.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
I'm gonna watch this white trying to sneak behind me.
Yes, sir.
Then there's all these. See, these are definitely skulls. Those other ones over there, I'm not too sure on. I'm gonna guess they're skulls, and they're just. I don't really know. So here's this white trying to sneak up on me. We'll let him get a little closer, and then we'll blow him up. Come on! Ah, that's annoying.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so these thrall.
Got it.
There's not very many of them, so our archers can pretty much take them, but we're gonna try to
Okay.
get our doors up here so that way when they charge, we can blow them up on there.
Yeah.
Hey, step aside.
Come on, Furbog. Hit him.
Got him.
There. Now I don't gotta worry about that stupid guy.
Yes, sir.
Man, come on, dwarves, you stupid pathfinding.
Money. Cash. Money. Hey, move it. That was mine. Got him. Yeah.
Better warriors finish him off.
Mic up your mind.
Yeah.
Very nice. Looks like this archer's hurt. We might as well heal him.
Yes.
Move here, move there.
Got
Mic up your
not really gonna
Got it.
take a lot of damage this mission, I think. Come on. Come on. The pathfinding for the healing is sometimes like just horrendous. I noticed. Sometimes it's just so bad.
Got it. Yes, sir. Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes. Yes, sir. We're moving.
Okay, we're gonna go. We're gonna go this way.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Up here.
We're moving.
There's something up here I want to show you. Let's oh, there he is. It's right here. So you got the Moss Soul Blighter up here. So they actually give you his name. So I'm trying to get my guys up here without.
Yes, sir.
So he turns into a bunch of crows and flies away. That's I want to show it to you. So let's go back to the last save. That's what I was trying to.
Move here, move there.
Yes, sir.
Try to keep my eyes off the whites for a second. Come on, Damas. Yeah. Turns into a bunch of crows and flies away. Alright.
Step aside.
Okay, now let's make sure these whites don't get our units.
Yes.
Oh! That's what happens. I get all distracted by, trying to show off Damas. And that's what I was worried about.
Move here, move there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Got it. Yes, sir.
Well, anyways, I showed it to you. You have to really keep an eye on the whites, otherwise. But
Yes.
I wanted to show you that.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Mic up your mind.
Stand clear.
Move here, move there.
We're moving.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
There's whites everywhere going through here. I honestly think killing the Myrmidons and going the other route might
Got it.
actually be easier just because you don't have to worry about all these whites.
Yes, sir.
But I think the game was intending for this to be the easier way. So, when they designed the levels, so that's why I want to show it.
Move there.
I want to go this way.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Mic up your mind.
Yes. Yes.
One of these guys probably has 84 units. The one that got the one that got to destroy all the Myrmidons, basically.
Yes, sir.
We got to blow up the satchels. Actually, I'm not sure if it gives the kills to the guy who placed the satchels or the guy who blows them up. I'm not really sure about that. I'm guessing it gives it to the guy that blows it up, but
Yes, sir.
who knows?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we kind of have to start moving down. We want to let's go to the top of the map because there's going to be a bunch of thrall that start coming out.
Yes.
And if we're on the edge of the map, it might be easier. Because one thing that could be hard about these groups of thrall is, like, once you see them, I'd recommend taking them out right away. Like, going towards them and engaging them. Because there'll be other groups coming. And so if you don't engage them right away, the next group might come. And then you might get surrounded. Which is bad.
Yes.
Move here, move there.
And then you kind of like stuck in your spot too. Like here comes the first group. right out of the corner.
Yes, sir.
I think there might be. Let's see how many groups are there. There's might be like 3 or 4, something like that. Groups just kind of like this.
Yes,
Hey,
sir.
move it.
Yes, sir.
Got him.
And then we just gotta watch our back. You know, for any whites coming back there.
Burn!
Yes. Ready.
Move here, move there. Catch!
Come on, pathfinding.
All right.
What now? My God,
That was mine. Yes.
okay.
Got him.
Yeah! Burn!
That was mine.
Oh, yeah. Move here, move.
I want to take control of my doors and move them away right now because
Money.
knowing them, they might like throw it into all my all my warriors and get them killed.
Yes.
Yes, I know your evil ways, dwarves. I know your evil ways.
Yes, sir. Yes.
This
Yes, sir.
this part of the mission probably isn't most interesting to watch.
Move there, move. Yes, sir. Okay.
Money.
Yes. Yeah.
Got him.
Sir.
Money.
Move.
That
Just
was
get
mine.
back.
Yes. Step aside.
Move there, move there.
That white got close.
We're moving.
That explosion almost killed my door. Not quite.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
That's why we got a journeyman for the doors when they try to kill themselves.
Yes, yes, sir.
Got it.
The one thing nice about this, like, loose or staggered formations is that
We're moving.
the doors and stuff can get through them.
Okay.
Okay,
My
so
God, mind. Yes.
Got it.
definitely didn't kill all the thrall.
Move here, move there.
Get these guys out of the archer's way. So there's all these whites being escorted by a couple myrmidons. Or maybe it's only one myrmidon. So one thing you can do is if you get there in time and blow them, they'll start to spread out. If you can get there in time, shoot them before they spread out.
Hey, step aside. Stand clear.
You can get them all to explode. Come on. Yeah, that's what I want to see. Oh, and here comes another group of thralls, so we gotta turn around.
Yes, sir.
Got it.
Hey, move it.
Okay.
Yes,
Stand
sir.
clear. Got him.
Yes.
Got him.
We're moving.
Mic up your mind. Yes. Move here. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Mess up these thrall. Oh my gosh. Okay, they're fine. They're fine.
Money. Hey,
Whee!
that was mine.
Move here.
Okay,
move
that's
there.
that. Okay, I think that might be all the thrall. There is another. Sometimes there's probably another group of whites, another myrmidon on this road down here or somewhere around there.
Yes, sir.
I kind of like how they use the roads. So it makes you wonder from like a lower perspective too with the myrmidons if they
Yes.
like somehow were like, you know, so Blighter still uses them somewhat,
Got it.
you know, because they were humans, right? So that means they have some intelligence, so maybe he takes advantage of that
Okay.
for like using them to escort the whites and stuff. You know, showing them where to go. So if you first play this mission, you might go along this whole map and be like, where the heck do I leave? There's this little cave, and if you know, depending on which way you have the map, you might not notice it. You know, so it's kind of like a secret, and I think they did that on purpose, you know, to kind of emulate, you know, that it's a secret passage.
Yes.
So we just run in there, and that's the end of the mission. Get to like somewhere. So yeah, this is why the dead don't know about this secret. It's because they can't find it. So our doors did most of the damage, which makes sense since we killed like 50 myrmidons with them. Or was it 40? Whatever it was, I don't remember. 104 kills, 76 for the archers, and we got some for the warriors. And the warrior captain did 0.1% damage. Good job, Moriok. Good job. So our dwarf that survived from the beginning got 90, but the other dwarf got 60, so he's not far behind. Got 33 and 20 for the archers. So that's pretty good. So that's a fun mission. I really like this mission. So the victory screen shows a warrior who is likely Moriok and the total codex on a table. The head is also on the table. There is also a boy in the image. The boy looks like he is wearing a robe. Could the boy be a pupil to one of the Avatara? My guess is that this image is in tandem because that was the only main city that hadn't fallen or was under siege at the time that they discovered the head. The last screen is the same as the last mission, Homecoming. It shows the cathedral and the Watcher with the total codex in hand and his foot on a warrior who could be Moriok. Thanks for watching this video, and I will catch you next time in Force 10 from Stoneheim.